Thank you, everybody, for joining me this afternoon. I know it's a really busy time of the day at a very busy time of the school year, and I really appreciate you taking the time to attend this session, which is about getting started with Makers Empire. I'm hoping that this session will be relevant to people who've never used Makers Empire before, who may have just started, or perhaps people that have used our tools in the past and want to familiarise themselves again and learn about some of the new features and tools that we have. Oops. Sorry. My name is Mandy Dimitriadis and I'm the Director of Learning at Makers Empire. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn or email if you want to connect directly with me after the session. My background is in teaching throughout South Australia, mostly primary and special education. And then I've also been involved in museum education at the South Australian Maritime Museum mostly, and then working for the Department for Education in various pedagogy and curriculum roles until 8 years ago when I met the Makers Empire team and have been the Director of Learning ever since. And I'll tell you all about what that means very soon, Makers Empire part. Abigail already said all of this, but it'd be great if you could keep your microphones off unless you want to say something, but feel free to use the chat function. If you would like to leave your camera on so we can see your smiling faces, that's great too. And just to reiterate that Abigail is recording this session. I would like to acknowledge that I'm meeting with you from Kaurna land and pay respect to the ongoing and deep connections that Kaurna people have to this beautiful land and country. This image comes from a beautiful book that you may be familiar with by Corey Tutt and Black Douglas, The First Scientists, which reminds us that our Aboriginal peoples were the world's first scientists, or are the world's first scientists, the first people to navigate the land using their observations, to solve problems using available resources in sustainable ways, the first people to use the night sky to navigate and predict seasons and movements of animals and so on. So as we're talking about innovative approaches for our students to develop problem solving and design thinking and other types of skills using new and emerging technologies, it's really important to remember that we can draw upon many thousands of years of Aboriginal and traditional knowledge. What I would like to do in this session, as I said, it's a design for people that are new, returning or brand new to Makers Empire. I'll start very quickly by explaining what we're all about. Then I want to walk you through what we call Maker World, which is where your students will access lots of design tasks and missions. And then I will briefly show our design tools, including a brand new one we've developed. Then we will have a quick walk through the main features of the teacher dashboard and then some suggestions about how you might get started with Makers Empire in your classroom or teaching environment. And then I will end with some further opportunities to get involved in various programs that we have available at Makers Empire. And with a bit of luck, we will end with some time for any questions that you may have. So that's where I'm heading today. So to begin with, what is Makers Empire? I said I joined 8 years ago, and Makers Empire is a South Australian-based company. The company was founded by 4 South Australian people, 4 young guys, maybe not quite so young now, about 10 years ago. And we are now based at Lot 14. And since the company was established, we've been able to grow our business so that we're working with schools around the world, and we have 3.5 million students using our platform. But more importantly, what we are striving to achieve is a vision that I'm sure you share. We'd like to see every young person empowered to become a creator, innovator, and a problem solver. We believe that every young person can make their world better in some way, and that type of skill set and way of thinking is key to that. So we set about trying to achieve that vision through our programs that aim to develop creative confidence, design thinking skills, and an interest in STEM learning And the core to how we set about achieving this is through our fun and easy to use 3D design software and associated programs. When we talk about Makers Empire, we really have three pillars to what we offer. First of all, there is our 3D design software, where students will create their designs and complete design missions and challenges and so on. We call it the world's most fun and easy to use 3D design software. And the reason we call it that is that it's really the only 3D modelling software that's been designed specifically for a young age group, 5 to 12-year-olds. There are other products where students can design in 3D. Most of them are simplified versions of professional or more technical CAD software. Makers Empire is game-based and it's got a lot of built-in curriculum-aligned content with it. Game-based in that students collect rewards as they go and then use those rewards to unlock shapes and features and so on. Our software works on all platforms: iPads, Windows machines, Macs, Android, Chromebooks, etc. And we package our software together with our teacher dashboard, which is where teachers like yourselves can manage your students' accounts, assign curriculum-aligned challenges and missions, and assess and provide feedback, as well as access a whole lot of resources that we have available. And then very importantly, we offer professional learning through Makers Empire. We really want to support teachers to implement these kinds of learning opportunities and programs for their students in ways that are effective, make teachers' lives easier, and have beneficial learning outcomes for students. We partner with a whole lot of important people, and including the Department of Education in South Australia and other ministries of education around the world. And we've also been the subject of various university studies. I'll just mention the Macquarie University study, which we actually did a few years ago now. And this study looked at the impact our program was having on both teacher professional learning and student learning outcomes. And it was really the results of those studies, that study, that gave us confidence that we were heading in the right direction and was the catalyst to us progressing to where we are today. We've also been pedagogically certified by a bunch of places, including Education Alliance Finland, which was a super exciting and rigorous process to go through. Okay, so that is Makers Empire. And even though we're a 3D modelling tool, what we're trying to achieve is help students to develop design thinking skills. And I won't read my own quote, but really design thinking is a problem-solving methodology that is human-centred. It's a way of finding, solving and testing solutions to problems. And what I really love about it is it's a way of reframing problems and difficult situations as opportunities to come up with solutions. This is a really important life skill, we believe, really important in the workplace, in everyday life. And it's also in the curriculum. Design thinking underpins particularly the design and technologies curriculum. So that's where we mostly fit. We do use a STEM learning integrated type approach, but as far as addressing specific curriculum achievement standards and content, we are in design and tech. Along the curriculum lines, while I'm talking about that, I just wanted to mention another research study that we completed with UniSA, which looked at spatial reasoning abilities. And spatial reasoning abilities over the last few years have been getting a lot of press as being really crucial to students' future success in STEM learning and STEM-related careers. And one particular study across 4 decades in the US showed that students at middle school, when they were tracked over 40-odd years, and the key thing that determined whether those young people were going to go on to STEM careers or STEM future learning and were successful in those areas was their spatial reasoning abilities. So even above literacy and other forms of numeracy, it was spatial reasoning that was the thing that stood out amongst those. So we partnered with UniSA to have a look at the impact of the Makers Empire program on students' spatial reasoning abilities. We'd had lots of anecdotal observations from teachers noticing that their students' spatial abilities and spatial reasoning skills were improving by using these 3D tools, which kind of makes sense. But this study enabled us to get some evidence, and it did show that but just by using Makers Empire in every day classroom lessons and activities, students' 3 different types of spatial reasoning ability improved over the space of 1 term. And what was very exciting for us in particular was that at the beginning of the term, at the beginning of the study, there were certain groups that scored lower, and they were females, students in regional areas, and students in lower socioeconomic areas. And those students actually made more growth than the other groups, which really gave us exciting. It really excited us that we had something that might start bridging a gap. So there's a lot of work still to be done in that area, but spatial reasoning is really important. And that's what I said before. We also measured attitudes towards STEM, and it showed a decreased anxiety and a closing of the gap, particularly between females and males' spatial reasoning skills and attitudes. So I talk about design and technologies a lot, but Makers Empire also fits within the spatial reasoning aspect of the curriculum. And it's just really interesting to note that when we compare version 8.4 of the Australian Curriculum Mathematics with version 9, that you can see that there really is a greater emphasis on spatial reasoning. So for example, in the space strand of mathematics, I'm looking at foundation, and in version 8, students were expected to describe position and movement, which they're still expected to do, but they're describing the position and locations of themselves and objects in relation to other people and objects within a space. So that relationship between themselves and other objects is a key part of spatial reasoning. So just that little tweak to that content description is showing a greater emphasis on spatial reasoning. Similarly, I could never say that word. Likewise, in Year 5, students were in version 8.4 required to connect 3-dimensional objects with their 2D nets or representations. Similar in version 9, but it's actually saying that they need to connect objects in their nets and build objects using spatial and geometric reasoning. So it's just emphasising and highlighting that that's what this is all about, and that this is an important part of the space strand. Anyway, I know that's not familiarisation with Makers Empire, but I just really wanted to share that with you. So, Abigail, I thought I would ask, has anyone used Makers Empire before? Perhaps you could just use the chat. Are we getting anything there?
Not yet, but hopefully people. So Julie has.
Great.
Camilla hasn't. Awesome. We haven't heard from Lisa yet.
That's absolutely fine. So we do have a range of experience. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is hop out of my presentation and hop into Makers Empire. And even if you've used Makers Empire before, that we do have some new features which I would like to show you. So just out of the way. Oops. Just giving that a while to open. Can you see my purple desktop at the moment?
Yes. Lisa has said that she's used it with her daughter,
nice.
Probably during COVID, but she hasn't used it in classroom teaching.
Right, I see.
That's me making the assumption about COVID, because she said it was a couple of years ago.
Right, sorry, I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's see what's happening. Seem to be having a bit of trouble here.
It's always the way when you're doing a
I
live
know,
demonstration.
I tested all this before.
You've got, there is one open earlier. Yep. Try
That's
that one.
why it would. Oh my goodness me, I do apologise. Okay, so when you first log into Makers Empire, or your students do, this is where you land. This is MakerWorld. And this is the app. So this is where your students will come when they open Makers Empire. The very first time students come to MakerWorld, a lot of these buildings that you can see will be greyed out. And that's because we want students to do our basic training before all of the buildings open up. So basic training, as it suggests, is some little tutorials that help you learn how to use the tools. The very first thing we ask students to do is to build their avatar. And that's our first thing for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we want students to start being creative straight away, but also it's that message about digital responsibility, that we're in a digital space. We know it's a safe space, but we still are not going to put any personal information in a digital space. So we create an avatar to represent ourselves. And then students work through these little tutorials that feel like you're playing a little game, but you're actually learning how to use the tool. So for example, I'm looking for the lollies or the candy, but what I'm really doing is learning how to rotate the camera to view my 3D design from different angles. You'll notice that throughout the Makers Empire app, we have this little speaker icon, which is a text-to-speech tool, and we'll read the instructions.
Hooray! You learned to look around, and you found all my candy.
So that's suitable for students with lower literacy levels or younger students, and you'll find that throughout our app. So there's a series of these that students work through, and then once they've done that, which is usually like the first lesson, the world is open and they can go into all of the other buildings. You can go back into the training lab at any time. You can have another go at basic training, or you can visit our Pro Training Lab. And what the Pro Training Lab is a whole lot of little projects that help students learn how to use the tools and to get some ideas about what's possible, how things work, what's not possible, so that when they're making their own designs, they've had a bit of experience and skill development. So I like to think of these pro training tutorials as being a little bit like digital Lego. So if you've got Lego, you can create anything you can imagine, but you can also buy a set that gives you just the pieces you need for that particular project and step-by-step instructions. So this has the step-by-step instructions that I can either read, have read to me with the text-to-speech tool, or just simply follow the flashing and tapping and pointing bits. Yeah, so I won't make you watch me finish my lollipop. We can also use the Pro Training as a bit of a self-teaching tool. So for example, if a student asks me, how do I use the rotate tool? They can come here and select rotate, and this will give you an example of a little project that uses the rotate tool and learn by doing. So that is Pro Training. Our third door, the video room, no surprise, contains videos, and these are videos made by our student ambassadors. When we notice students doing amazing things in Makers Empire, we sometimes invite them to become a student ambassador, and one of the things they do is make these little YouTube style videos where they screen share and talk through how they made their amazing designs. So it's just a way of learning together, and other students love to hear from the students that made these really impressive designs. So that's the training lab. Moving along, we have Maze Mania. I won't go into that tonight, but that's basically a challenge to create mazes, build mazes using different criteria and obstacles and so on, and then play other students' mazes. You will find that students love Maze Mania, and they'll discover it without me going in there tonight. Sometimes they love it too much, and because of that, we've put the ability in the teacher dashboard to disable Maze Mania during school hours. So although we think students are doing lots of really cool things and developing spatial reasoning in there, sometimes they're doing that instead of what their teacher wants them to be doing. Anyway, moving on to these two buildings in the top right hand corner, we have Competition Arena. Every month in Makers Empire, we have a design-based competition. It's a global competition, so we have students from all over the world entering. Really great way for students to be part of a genuine global design community. And it's usually related to something that's happening around the world. This one in November is about World Kindness Day, which was yesterday. And the challenge is to design something for someone special to show you care. So you simply hit enter and start creating your design. We have up to 20,000 entries every month. I get to judge those, which is fun and time consuming. And then students earn tokens if they've got outstanding designs, and we send out certificates and a 3D printed trophy to our overall winner. Some of our teachers will use have the whole class complete the competition, and they know the new competition is coming and they plan a lesson around it. Sometimes we see it's used as a homework task or perhaps an early finishing extension task or something, or students can do it at home, do it in their own time. So that's Competition Arena. On our website, there is a calendar of upcoming competitions if you want to include that in things that you're doing. In a similar way, we have our daily challenges, which are calendar based. Oh, there you go. It doesn't very often happen that I click on the daily challenge is the same as the competition, and this was yesterday, so we must still be on. I must be on an American time anyway. So there's a different challenge every day for students to have a go at. Sometimes it's something like this, a significant day. Sometimes it's a problem to solve, all calendar based. Sometimes it might be something like, on this day, the first elevator was patented. Can you design a new way to move around buildings with multi-stories, something like that. So these are not competitions, they're just design prompts that students can have a go at. Once again, homework, looking for ideas, that kind of thing. But I think the two most important parts of Make a World are these two buildings at the front, Challenge Central and the one with my rocket, Mission Control. So I'm going to start by going into Challenge Central, and what you'll find in here are what we call our challenge courses. What your students will see in here depends on what you have assigned to them as a teacher. And so you can control that in the dashboard and assign challenge courses to your students, which they access through here. So I've got a whole bunch available for me at the moment, but you might just want to have one or two there. So what I mean by a challenge course is a series of activities. I've finished this one, so that's why it's got all the confetti all over it. A series of activities that are connected through some kind of theme. They often address one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and they're all aligned to the design and tech curriculum and other relevant curriculum areas. So this one is around, obviously, ocean, protecting our oceans, and a series of activities. By that I mean we have videos, we have quizzes, design tutorials, and design thinking challenges. So I'll just show you a little bit about what this looks like. So we have a little video that we create in-house. I'll just show you the beginning of it. I think I've shared my sound, so hopefully you'll hear.
Did you know that 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans? So why are oceans important? Well, if we didn't have oceans, we would have trouble breathing. Over half of the world's oxygen is produced by our oceans.
Okay, you get the idea. So you watch that little video and then you go into a quiz, and your avatar is now in a game show answering some questions related to that video you just watched. So it's a way of interacting with that video content. So how much of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans? I think that was 70%. So I celebrate, I get some tokens, and I move on to the next one. If I make an incorrect response, how do oceans help us breathe fresh air? Oh, let's say salt water is good for our lungs. No, not quite right. Maybe, but oceans produce something else that helps us breathe. Try again. So I'll get a bit of a prompt and I get to have another go at the question. And in the teacher dashboard, you can see what's happening and what students are doing as far as attempting and get how they're going with these different activities. We then move on to one of those pro training tutorials, which is what I referred to as digital Lego. So we've had a video which mentioned about oceans being really important as habitats for wildlife. So we're making a step-by-step baby sea turtle as part of that. Yeah. And so the whole challenge course moves through that kind of pattern that we have a video, respond to that video with a quiz, and then a relevant design tutorial around the different topics. So we've got oceans of trash, we've got plastic problem, etc. Then every challenge course will have an open-ended design thinking challenge. So in this case, it's to invent something to help protect our oceans. So you might design something to keep pollution out of the oceans in the first place, or help clean up polluted oceans. And then the students pitch their invention. So there's a little kind of interactive where they enter what their invention does, why they invented it, how it works, etc. So I'll show you how to access these and how to assign them in the teacher dashboard shortly. But we are developing at least one new challenge course every term. So it's worthwhile looking out for them and checking out what's new. They all cover a range of year levels from reception through to year 8-ish. Yeah, that's that one. Now, mission control is a little different. The concept of this is you visit your astronaut at mission control and go the very first time you have to build your rocket, and then you go into mission control and collect your mission. So I've got a whole lot of silly ones here, but that you can, as a teacher, assign missions that will appear in here. And so this is not the multi-step activities like the challenge courses. This is just the design component. So if you're doing something around, in this case, natural disasters, you might want to create a mission that's the design part of what you're doing in the classroom. So this example here is to design a shelter to keep a family safe during an earthquake. And the criteria is it needs to be big enough for 5 people. The students click on this and then they get started. You can see the instructions there, and you can start making your shelter. And I will also show you what that looks like from the teacher's perspective in the dashboard very soon. So those are the main aspects of MakerWorld. Along the top, you'll see other tabs. And of course, Maker's Empire is fundamentally a design tool. MakerWorld kind of frames the design tasks into different activities and ways of interacting with it. But you can use this as a standalone design tool by clicking on the Create tab. And what we have here are 3 different modules. Shaper is about putting shapes together to make new objects. You can cut things out and combine things and group things, etc. We then have Blocker, which is a little bit like Minecraft. In fact, if you have students who are into Minecraft, they build amazing things with this. And then the third one, which is our brand new one that I mentioned before, is our advanced module. And I think I'm still in a tutorial mode here. But the idea of this is for a more advanced way of designing in 3D than Makers Empire has been in the past, and it's designed to be a bit of a transition between what Makers Empire has always been and the more professional or technical CAD software like through Fusion 360 and some of those that senior high school years are using. We developed this for lots of reasons, but our product is used in the UAE by all schools, and they were using Makers Empire up to year 7, and then were wanting their year 8s and 9s to get started with Fusion 360, and there was a big jump between what they were doing in Makers Empire and Fusion 360. So this is meant to assist students to develop CAD skills, extrusion and things like that, in a guided, intuitive type way. So if you are working with older students or students that are really adept or experienced with 3D modelling, check out the advanced module, which is actually, it's so brand new that it's not on all platforms yet. It is not on MacBooks yet, but it's coming very, very soon. So they are the key design tools. I'm conscious that I haven't shown you how to use those at all, but if you're wanting to have some practice and have some coaching around that, I'm very happy to jump on individual calls with people. Or I would also suggest working through some of those design tutorials and so on first, and you'll pick it up pretty easily. I will guarantee that your students pick it up quicker than you do. They certainly have outshone me. So I'm going to leave the app for a minute now and go into our teacher dashboard and show you what some of those things look like from the teacher's perspective. Abigail, has anyone asked questions? Oh, I thought you might be waiting to get a word in.
No, it's all very quiet, but that's a good reminder. If you do have questions, please pop them in.
Thank you, Abigail. So this is our teacher dashboard. Unlike the app which you download, our app dashboard is web-based. So you just log on through our website, and this is there is so much in the dashboard. So I'm just going to show you some key elements of it. This is where you will manage your classes. You can create student accounts, you can change passwords, you can create login cards and all sorts of things that you would find in most dashboards that accompany products like Makers Empire. And this is also where you will go to download students' designs for 3D printing. So I'll just find the torch. The torch design, if I wanted to download this, I click on the student's design and then I can go to actions and download my 3D files. And I'm just going to show you something that I think is pretty cool. So anything you do make in Makers Empire can be 3D printed. However, you're not going to 3D print everything that students design. You're not going to want to, even though 3D printing is getting faster, it's still not a quick process. Plus, it's not about 3D printing everybody's project. The learning happens through the design and the problem solving, etc. But there are other ways you can use students' digital models besides the 3D printing. So if I go to my 3D files, what you can do, if I just go to that torch that I downloaded at the bottom there, oops, sorry, I've been busy downloading designs today. We just set up an exhibition in the Australian Space Discovery Centre. I was doing all of those. So if I download that, I've got different types of files that I can download. So the STL file is what you use for 3D printing. The GLB file creates a digital form of your object, which I'll show you in a minute. You can then, an OBJ file is if you want to put this into some kind of VR or AR program. We have teachers who use the OBJ files for CoSpaces. You can create an AR poster which generates a QR code so you can scan kids' designs and see them in AR. That's great for things like a virtual display or exhibition, which is pretty cool. And if you want to, you can just create a 2D image. So there's lots of ways students can use their creations to present or create other things. But I just wanted to show you this, which I think is cool. So if I download the GLB file, that's gone to my downloads folder. And if I open up my PowerPoint again, and I go, so just normal PowerPoint tools, I go to Insert, and then Insert 3D Model, and I want to get one from my device, and that will be in my Downloads folder. So there it is there. And so that then will import that torch. It's just doing it now. Takes a bit of time. And then I can use the PowerPoint's animation tools to make this move and do things. The coolest example I've seen of this being used was a class that had been learning about space exploration. So for their open night, they designed a PowerPoint slide of the surface of Mars, and then they had all of their little 3D rovers, Mars rovers, moving across it. So it's just another way students can use their thing, their digital models. Okay, get distracted because I like that. All right. Now, what I did want to talk about was the two things I mentioned back in Make a World, the challenge courses and the design missions, the teacher missions. So if I go over into the dashboard and open up challenge courses, the left-hand menu, what you'll see here are 3 tabs: available courses, assigned courses, and progress reports. And what you'll see here, obviously, is the courses that are available to you. As I said, we're adding a new one at least every term. There's a whole lot of different ones here. We suggest the year level that it's suitable for. That's because that's where we've specifically done the curriculum alignment, but it's a guide really. And then a little bit of a guide about how long it might take. And when I predict how long it might take, I'm imagining that the students would do some of the activities, but then you might stop and do a class discussion or brainstorm some ideas or that sort of thing. If you then go to detail, so let me look at strong structures. You click on that. We have a bit of an overview about what that's about and some resources. So there's a pre-recorded webinar and a teacher guide which you can download as a PDF that has those sorts of suggestions that I was saying, how you might embed this in flesh out some of the activities and create a lesson around that. We then have the learning objectives and curriculum alignment. And then over on the right-hand side is an overview of what is in that challenge course. So you can preview the videos and the design tasks there. So this is where you'd go to work out whether this is going to be suitable for your students or not. And then if you go back to assign courses, it's really easy. Basically, whatever has a tick next to it, that student will see in Challenge Central. So you could assign to the whole class, or if for some reason you wanted students working on different challenge courses, you can do that individually. And then if we go into progress reports, once your students start to work through a challenge course, you'll be able to view this as a progress report. So not the best example. It's a bit like a traffic light system. So if it's green, each of these across the horizontally represent one of the activities in that challenge course, and my student list is down vertically. If it's green, it means the student appears to be progressing and working through that activity as we expected. If it's orange or amber, it means they seem to be struggling or taking a bit longer than expected. And if it's red, they appear to be completely stuck. So at a glance, you can see how everyone's going. And then you can click on each of these and get a bit more information. So there I can see that Delisha has attempted the quiz twice and went back and had another go and got a better score.
Mandy, we've just got a question. Are you
Sure.
able to open up one of the teacher PDF guides for us to have a quick look at?
I absolutely can. So let me go back to available courses, details, and teacher guide. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. I work in a tech hub, but sometimes my internet is not great. I don't know if that's the problem here, but kind of ironic, really. Here it comes. Okay, so we have our teacher guide, bit of an overview, a suggested schedule about how you might go about implementing this challenge course, what is in each challenge course, and then the curriculum links. Curriculum links. And then more to explore is what I was talking about. So these are some suggestions about how you might get more out of the challenge course by adding to what the students are doing outside of the app, as well as some activities that you might use for that design thinking process, questions you might ask, activities that you might do through there. And then at the end, there are other resources that might be of use, videos and books and so on. And then contact us if you need help. Yeah, this is a fairly new thing we've just added to them, so I'm really pleased someone asked to see that. Thank you. Yeah, so just going back very quickly to the progress reports. Once the students have, so you can click on these and see more information about what the student, oh, whoops, I'm still in basic training. I don't want basic training, I want oceans of trash. So if I click on here, I can see the student's invention for cleaning the oceans. I can see how long they took. This was one of our tech guys actually, so I wouldn't be able to do that in 9 minutes. The effort score is an algorithm that sits behind the design, and it's our best attempt at measuring complexity, because sometimes the design looks really simple, but the students actually spent a lot of time editing, making really subtle changes and so on. And other times something might look really detailed and colourful, but it's actually been just all plonked together. So the effort score is the algorithm measures how many movements the student makes, how many different tools that they use and how many different shapes they select and that sort of thing. So just as a guide, I have heard a teacher using this as a, if you want me to 3D print this, it's got to be an effort score of at least 75 or something like that. So using it as a, as a bit of a guide and assessment. And at the very end of this progress report, there's 3 dots. This enables you to send assessment, send feedback, award tokens to students, download a report and generate a certificate. The report will show what the student has done, that individual student has done in each of the activities. And then I'll just quickly download one of those. And then we've seen teachers like download this and pop it into learning portfolios and so on if they want to. So that's challenge courses. What happens with teacher missions. So these were the design component rather than the whole challenge course. You can make your own missions. So give it a title, give it a brief or the instructions. You can choose which module the students need to use for it and then assign it to your class. Or once you've created missions, they will save under the My Missions tab. Or if you want to, you can use the ones that we've created already. There's a couple of hundred in here, at which you can filter by year level. So if I wanted to look at the year 3, 4 suitable ones, let's have a look. So designing, no, I don't want to do that. Think about children who share a bedroom with their brother or sister. Design a room divider, blah, blah, blah. So if I wanted to assign that to my class, do this. And then if I go back into the app, clicking the right shortcut this time, what will happen is you can see that that's just popped up at the bottom. Mandy Design sent you the sharing space mission. So I can click on that, or I can go into my Rocket to collect it. There it is. And then I can, the student will then click Start. I'm not going to make a very good divider, but let's just say that's my divider. We hope that you'll get something creative, more creative than that. In fact, it's probably going to tell me off when I say I'm finished. No, I could give it a title. You can ask your students to write a description or explain the design choices they've made, etc., and then finish. Yeah, that was a reasonable mission. All right, there's some things that will show you some others, things that students have made. Anyway, the reason I did that very quickly is I wanted to show you that once you have assigned a mission to students, you can then view and assess all of the students in your class design around that mission. And this is why you would assign a mission rather than just say, I want everyone to design something to share the space in their bedroom. Because if you do that, you'll have to go through every account looking for the room divider. Whereas if you use a mission, what you do is go to view and assess, and I can then go, I'm looking for my demo class 2. I want to look at my teacher missions, and I'm going to, what was it called? Share space. Sharing space, there it is. So I search, and then I will see all of that. I've only just finished that, so it's still generating, but then I would see everyone in the classes room divider. I can select them all, download the files, assess, etc. So these here, you can provide your own feedback for students, or you can select one of these. The students won't see the above, below, satisfactory comment. They'll just see the comment that you give them, and then that will pop up as a message, like I showed you with assigning the mission. So that's just a way to manage it much easier than having to go to every account and look for whatever it is that you've asked them to do. So,
sorry, Mandy, a quick question from me.
Sure. Yes.
You showed us how, as a teacher, you can download student work. Students can download their own work as well?
Yes, students can download in the app. They can also email it to their teachers. So I'll just go back into my designs. Send. So you can send it to yourself. You can download the file. Yeah. That makes, or yeah, download the file from there. Or you can request the print for your teacher to 3D print. Students can't send it straight to the 3D printer themselves, but they can get the files. Does that make sense? Oh, one thing while I'm here is a cool feature called the replay. So if you click the replay, it will show you all of the steps that were used to make that design, which can be quite interesting too. All right. I promised myself I wouldn't share millions of features because it just overwhelms people. Yeah, so the only other thing I would draw your attention to in the dashboard at the moment is our resources tab. There's a whole lot of downloadable resources that teachers might find useful. Things like quick guides and letters for parents and so on, but there's also classroom posters, ideas, certificates, there's the posters, and some design thinking templates and measurement templates. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, resources in the teacher dashboard tab. So I'm just going to go back to my presentation and talk about using Makers Empire in the classroom. So what I've talked about today are the challenge courses, and a lot of our teachers are really enjoying the challenge courses. They're something we started a couple of years ago, and they've been extremely popular because really what we tried to do with those was mirror what our successful teachers were doing with Makers Empire. They weren't just saying go off and design some playground equipment. They were embedding the design into what else was happening in the classroom and giving the design a purpose, linking it to learning outcomes, etc. So that's what we've tried to do with those. So there's the challenge courses, the design missions, and of course you can use Makers Empire to support any design or design thinking projects that you're doing. So there's our challenge courses. We talked about missions, and I just thought I would share some examples of projects that some of our schools have done successfully. So this is an inclusive playground design. The school were actually redesigning their school playground, Year 3 class, and the students had observed that not everyone could access and have as much fun in the playground as they could. They had a friend in a wheelchair who could get into the existing playground, but once he did, there was nothing he could play on. Another student had epilepsy and was quite frightened, even though the playground was met safety guidelines. She still felt worried about falling on corners of things, etc. And another student living on the autism spectrum would go into the playground and feel really overwhelmed. So the students created their own 3D playground. They worked in teams to create the different pieces of equipment, had to then fit together to make a playground model. And they presented this to the Governing Council, and some of these pieces were then actually co-designed with the landscapers or whoever it was, and are in the playground. The little green and pink building, little cubby house there on the left, that was the safe place to go if you needed a break, prompted by the student on the autism spectrum, and inside that little house were that student's favourite numbers and colours and things as a safe space. This is a reception project linked with a unit around a health unit around how we're all special and different and unique, and these are the students' unique individual monsters. So they made a monster that was different to everyone else's monster and used it as a basis for some oral language activity describing their monsters, etc. This was a beautiful project in Mundalla Primary School in the southeast, very small school, and the local Progress Association put a call out to the community to design the Welcome to Mundalla artwork. The teacher identified this as a fabulous real world design challenge for students. So they went out to the area, they did lots of measuring, thought about road safety, and then thought about how they would represent their community in a piece of standalone artwork. You can see their drawings and so on. They then created their prototypes along with a proposal about the materials that this would be made out of, sustainable but hardy. And then these designs were actually in the local shop for the community to vote on for which one would actually be built. So prototyping, sharing ideas. Another playground equipment one from an older class, and I included this one because you can see that 3D printing can be a great prototyping tool, but it can also be an option. One of the students made their prototype with pop sticks and bottle tops and the way we've always done these sorts of things, but two others, the brown one and the green one, chose the 3D printer. So it's another tool for creating prototypes. This was a science unit around animal habitats. So the students created their animal and then they had to build, which is the white hippo there, and then they had to build the habitat that animal needed to survive. So there's lots and lots of examples, but they're just a couple. I'll go away from that. So how are we going for time? Always running late. But what I wanted to end up with are you're very welcome if you have a Makers Empire subscription. Everything that I just shared with you is available to you. But we also have a couple of other opportunities. The first, or three actually. The first one is that we have a free trial. So you can go to our website and set up a free trial, which goes for a term. And you can access all of the things that I showed you. If you're also considering 3D printers for your school but not sure if you want to make that investment yet, we do have a try before you buy program with our 3D printers. Basically, you pay the shipping, and if you like it, you can keep it. You can have it, I think you use it for 40 days, I think it is. And then if you like it, you can buy it. If you don't, you just pay the return shipping to come back. So that's a way of working out whether it's something that the school really wants to go down. So the other two things I wanted to share are our managed projects. So what a managed project is based on one of those challenge courses that I shared. So a new challenge course each term, but we package this up as a little bit of a guided experience. So you sign up for it on our website and we'll send you a weekly email. We'll send you that teacher guide, and you can also access webinars and things like that. So we send you a bit of more of a scaffolded supported system experience, and then at the end of the term you can choose some of your students' designs, your top 3, to go in on an online gallery. So if you're interested in these, this is what we've got coming up in 2024. So starting off the term with climate change, or climate action more accurately. Then we have Finding Your Way, which is very spatial reasoning, map following and so on, as well as traditional knowledge. Then we have Antarctica, and then in term 4 next year, it's crazy to be thinking about that, but entrepreneurism and budgeting and things like that. So that's managed projects, which you're very welcome to join. And the other thing that we do run regularly are what we call our sponsored projects. And these are projects that are funded by one of our partners. So we have a lot of projects with the Australian Space Agency and the Anti-Thomas Space Foundation. So they basically will sponsor schools or pay for schools to come to a program which includes face-to-face PD and all of the 3D printer, the Makers Empire access, all of those things. And then we come together for a showcase at the end of the project, where students share, student-led showcase, where they share their projects with each other, and you can see some examples there. So we have a bunch of these. Next year we've got a brand new one, partnership with the RAA, so it's a road safety project. We have several space ones, the SA water one. Careers under construction is obviously careers and construction for middle school students. There's a whole bunch of these. So if you go to our website and search for sponsored projects, you can fill in an expression of interest, which doesn't lock you in for anything, but it just means that we'll let you know when those opportunities come up. And I reckon that, I just wanted to say, please sign up for a trial too. that I think is spot on time. Thank you, Abigail.
Well, thanks very much, Mandy. I guess this is your last chance to ask any questions if you've got some more questions. But other than that, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, and hopefully we see you in the next session as well. We'll just give people 1